On Lake Erie. We have a beautiful day here in Cleveland, Ohio. The temperature is 65 degrees, rather windy, 12 miles an hour, but good racing conditions. Hi everybody, I'm Bob Jenkins along with Larry Newber, round 6 of the Super V Series for 1984. An interesting thing in the point standings. First of all, the points are close and a lot of nationalities represented up front.
Well, 3 people, Chip Robinson, an American, leads. R.A. Luyendijk from Holland is second, and Ludwig Heimrath Jr. from Canada is third. But the exciting thing is, Bob, that each of these guys has been strong all year long, and at one point or another, each one has been dominant. And you never know what's going to happen at every Super V race. One of these days, there's going to be a race when every one of them is going to be running his best, and it is going to be exciting, and it could be today.
It's going to be a short race, and there won't be a whole lot of pit activity, but when there is, Gary Lee will be there to report it for us. Gary?
Well, thank you. As you mentioned, not much pit activity because a pit stop is not part of the strategy in Super V competition. Consequently, the pit area becomes the communication center for the race. Only one driver, Ben Gustafson, car 64, he'll be starting in the 3rd row, will be utilizing the radio. The rest of the teams will utilize the old standby pit board to pass along such information as position, laps, and lap times. Let us hope it's a good, clean race, no attrition, and we'll catch up with you in victory lane. Bob?
100-kilometer race, and we'll be back to take a look at the starting lineup and a description of this race course in just a moment as we bring you Auto Racing 84 from Cleveland, Ohio. The 29 Super Vs come down the front stretch here at Burke Lakefront Airport looking for the green flag. Now, very briefly, this is turn number 11 they're going through now. Now turn number 12 onto a short straightaway, and the start-finish line, and the green flag is out. Round number 6 of the Robert Bosch VW Super Series underway. Turns 1 and 2 now onto a short straightaway that leads to the far western end of the race course, and cars begin to dice for position as they head toward the hairpin turn. Remember, these are taxiways and runways here at Burke Lakefront Airport, and that means that they are very wide. There is no problem as far as passing is concerned. They go down the stretch which leads to turn number 5, a right-hander, and then very quickly into a left-hander, and they go down the middle stretch here at Burke Lakefront Airport. In the lead is Ludwig Heimrath Jr. From the middle stretch, they go to turn number 7, a left-hander, north toward the lake.
And there's a problem in turn 6, Bob. We've got one car going down the middle stretch backward. That's number 73, Rob Stevens out of Michigan. Guy did not come too far to race here today, but his race may be over with early. A couple other cars had made contact, and there was a lot of debris in that section of the track.
Accident happened just out of turn number 6, but as you can see, Rob Stevens from Garden City, Michigan has gotten his car started once again. Now, there will be no overall yellows unless it is a serious situation, only a yellow flag in the particular portion of the racetrack in which the problem occurred. Heimrath is the leader, followed by Chip Robinson, then R.A. Luyendijk, Peter Moody, and Roger Penske Jr. as one lap out of 25 is completed.
Well, Bob, Heimrath got a great start. He started in 3rd position, and now there's a battle up front again.
And Chip Robinson was able to go to the inside of Ludwig Heimrath Jr. in the hairpin, and Chip Robinson has taken over the lead. Robinson started from outside of row number 1, the second fastest qualifying speed at 118.408 miles an hour. He takes the lead just after crossing the start-finish line at the end of lap number 1, and Chip Robinson is looking for his 2nd consecutive win on the Super V Series. Now we have a battle for 2nd position.
Bob,
the car has spun.
Bob, this could be that race. There's number 8 of Richard Myrie, a rookie. This is his first race ever, also coming out of turn 6 again, so that's proven to be tricky today. Myrie gets underway. This could be that classic race up front, Bob, that we alluded to in our opening. Each of Heimrath, Luyendijk, and Robinson appears to be very racy today. Again, that is Richard Myrie recovering from a spin just moments ago. But all 3 of the people who have been dominating the series this year have already traded paint. Robinson leads this lap, and Heimrath has slipped back to 3rd already.
And a car going slowly down the front stretch here as positions are being fought for. There is Richard Myrie once again, the local driver from Cleveland Heights, Ohio. He begins to pick up speed now as he comes down the front stretch. But there is the leader, Chip Robinson, in car number 4. Chip from Far Hills, New Jersey, picked up a victory in the most recent Super V race in the Meadowlands in New Jersey, a hometown victory for this New Jersey driver. Chip Robinson in turn number 6, now headed for the middle stretch. Robinson in car number 4. And most of the cars that are competing here this afternoon are Rolts. There are exceptions. There is one Anson, a Van Diemen, a Riley, a Mark, and also a Venture. There's the number 22 car, driven by Bobby Fix from Lakewood, Colorado. This driver has experience, or gained most of his experience. As you can see, damage to the rear suspension. Bobby Fix gained most of his experience in sprints and in midgets. And another spin, that is the number 50, driven by Mike Cooper from Woodland Hills, California. One of those who has done well this year on the Super V Series.
Mike Cooper in his Johnny Rutherford-like helmet, and again, Bob was in the same place on the racetrack, turn 6. One driver that we haven't seen because he's mired back in the middle of the pack is Dominic Dobson. He also had a problem there the first lap of the race. I saw debris flying, and I don't know if that's a factor or not, but boy, turn 6 is really taking its toll.
The leaders, once again, Chip Robinson is maintaining a slight advantage over Ludwig Heimrath Jr. And here's a battle up front involving Peter Moody and Roger Penske Jr.
Well, Peter Moody has been up front many times this year, and as a matter of fact, has been a real threat to win 2 or 3 times. Right now, Moody will set sail for the top 3 drivers. You saw Ludwig Heimrath Jr. just dart out of the picture in front of him. That's Moody. He now runs 4th. The car directly in front of him. Another quick glimpse of him, Ludwig Heimrath Jr. Bob, was a very interesting first couple of laps because each of Heimrath, Luyendijk, and Robinson led. Robinson first led, then Heimrath got this great jump out of turn 1 and turn 2 on lap 1. Then Luyendijk went to the front, and finally Robinson asserted himself. Now last week at the Meadowlands, this is exactly what Robinson did. He decimated the field.
There are the leaders once again. You can see the interval between first and second as Luyendijk now begins to close in on Chip Robinson. They come off of turn number 2 down the short stretch leading to the hairpin. Robinson followed by the number 61 car driven by Arie Luyendijk. He hails from Oss, Holland. Now they go into the sweeper, or the kink as we will refer to it during the course of today's telecast. It is a very wide sweeping turn and one of the fastest portions of the racetrack. Chip Robinson leading Arie Luyendijk now out of turn number 6 onto the middle stretch. Just about a 4 or 5 car length advantage for Chip Robinson. And there is Ben Gustafson in car number 64. Ben is also an Ohioan, a driver from Maumee, Ohio. He has experienced some problems and has pitted here in the early stages of this race. We'll be back with more action in this Super V contest from Burt Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, Ohio. 5 laps here in Cleveland, Ohio, as we bring you the Super V race, and there is a layout of the racetrack. You can see the kink, or the sweeping turn area, then turns 5 and 6 at the top of your screen, leading to the middle stretch. Then they go into the far eastern end of the racetrack, an area we refer to as the back 40, which contains turns 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then onto the front stretch, turns 11 and 12, and the start-finish line. And we pick up the leaders at the start-finish line just as they go into turns number 1 and 2. That's Chip Robinson, Arie Luyendijk, and Ludwig Heimrath Jr. And the first 3 cars are running very close. Heimrath putting some pressure on Chip Robinson as the slower car moves to the outside of the track to allow the faster cars to go by. And Arie Luyendijk makes a nice move to the inside and passes Chip Robinson. So we have a new leader as Arie Luyendijk moves into the lead, and now look at Ludwig Heimrath Jr. catch up to Chip Robinson.
Oh, this could be a good one, Bob. I'll tell you, we've got the 3 guys who have dominated. There goes Heimrath. Heimrath moves Robinson. There's Arie Luyendijk in the upper right-hand part of your screen. He leads, followed by the Canadian Ludwig Heimrath Jr. and the American now finds himself relegated to 3rd. This could be one terrific automobile race.
Arie Luyendijk, the leader of this race, has already won 1 contest this year. That was on the mile paved oval that we telecast for you in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He has had consistent finishes this year, the exception at Phoenix, Arizona, also on the oval, where he finished a poor 26th. But in the first race, he was second, had a win at Milwaukee, was 3rd at Portland, and was 3rd in the most recent race at the Meadowlands.
Bob, I think they're all running very strong, and I really have a feeling that if all the cars continue to perform, at least these three cars, this event is probably going to be decided by the guy who makes the least number of mistakes late in the race. You can't run a race like this lap after lap after lap and be perfect. You see Lyondike way out of shape, almost losing control. That'll cost him RPMs. This could be Heimerth's opportunity to get around him. Ludwig tucks in behind. He hopes to pick up just a little bit of a slipstring. Coming through the kink, down the backstretch. Heimerth will try to outbrake him going into turn number 5. Can he do it? Yes, he's got him, and just that little slip on behalf of Lyondike cost him enough RPMs to lose the lead.
So we have our third leader in the last 2 laps, but now Lyondike goes wide out of turn number 6 and takes back the lead as they go down the middle stretch. Lyondike back in the lead as Heimerth drops back to 2nd. Chip Robinson is still running 3rd. Running in 4th spot is Peter Moody, and 5th is Roger Penske Jr.
As we were saying, I think it's the man who makes the least number of mistakes, and Lyondike way out close to the fence, swinging out of turn number 10 down to the long middle stretch. Make that the grandstand home stretch here. There are actually 2 front stretch here. It'll be very interesting when we get in the latter stages of the race to see just how perfect these guys can be.
Well, we had a series of lead changes here. Here is the replay as Heimerth goes to the inside of Lyondike at the end of the kink.
Now, sometimes, Bob, when you outbrake somebody going into a corner, like Heimerth is doing to Lyondike right here, you pay for it on the way out. And that is indeed exactly what happened coming out of the corner. Once Ludwig got by, he was just overcooked coming out of the corner, and Lyondike was able to shift gears and move back around.
The average speed at the end of 8 laps, an amazing 118.056 miles an hour. Now, bear in mind, the pole sitter here today, Ari Lyondike, the guy that's leading, qualified at 119.632, so they're almost running at qualifying speed here in the race. There are the first 2 cars, Lyondike followed by Ludwig Heimerth Jr. And now Lyondike begins to put a little bit of racetrack between himself and Heimerth as they move into turn number 9, now turn 11 and on to the front stretch. The first 3 cars, Lyondike, Heimerth, and Chip Robinson. Lyondike moving to the inside of a slower car and passing in turn number 11, now through turn number 12, and the passover flag being given to some of the slower cars as Lyondike moves to the inside and passes a back marker going into turn number 1. Now he moves through turn number 2 and is headed for the hairpin.
There you see Lyondike, and a lot more smooth that time around turns number 1, 2, and 3. He holds his line and actually gets out and through the kink, Bob, with about a 7 or 8 car length lead, and they're beginning to lead Chip Robinson in their dust a little bit. Now, one thing about Heimerth, Bob, that we've seen in races past, he appears to be very solid in traffic, and that could well be a factor in this race later on because the field is strung out very quickly.
Well, it looks like that Ludwig Heimerth is able to close in on Lyondike in the turns, but as Lyondike goes down the straightaways, he's able to pull away. There is John Richards in car number 51, a driver from Sealy Lake, Montana.
Well, he's an interesting story because he's another one of the many graduates of racing schools that has moved into professional ranks of automobile racing. Like so many people, John started out on go-karts and moved on into snowmobiles and then on to Super Bs. And he's been in heavy traffic, but he has been moving up here in the early stages of this race, John Richards. He has been racing with his teammate, the number 50 car of Mike Cooper, and Richards now runs in 10th position. You can tell his car by that bright red nose on the number 51. There's also number 50 out there, but he's had his hands full. He's been in heavy traffic all day and trying to move up. You can see him going almost 3 abreast there, going down the front stretch.
One thing that they have done here at Burke Lakefront Airport this year is put up markers for the drivers indicating how far they are away from a turn. That's one of the problems that drivers have complained about in recent years. Because this airport is so flat, the drivers have had trouble as far as perspectives are concerned. So they put up the 4, 3, 2, 1 markers to indicate the distance the drivers are from the corners.
The number 11 there is one of the pleasant surprises of the 1984 season, Jeff McPherson. Jeff has been a top 10 contender all season long, and he currently resides in the top 10 in the point standings. As a matter of fact, he's 7th. He had 3 6th-place finishes in a row in the first 3 races of the year.
There is the leader once again, Ari Lyondike. Leyendijk. Right behind him is second position, Ludwig Heimrath Jr. 25-lap race, and we have completed 11 at this point. We'll be back with more activity from this Robert Bosch VW Super V race.
Race right now standing next to his car. You were black flagged, but you say it was only a matter of time before you'd have to come in. What was the problem?
Well, I've been having problem with brakes all weekend. I've been overheating the brakes and boiling the fluid and running out of brakes after about 5 or 6 laps. And the problem is we don't have enough time testing on the cars, what the problem is mainly.
A lot of trouble out there in turn 6. Is it slick out there?
Doesn't seem to be. It really didn't seem to be too slick. It just probably got in there a little too hard, probably what happened out there. It's very easy to do.
Now it's time to stand and watch.
That's right.
An interesting comment, Larry and Gary, from the driver, indicating that regardless of what level of racing you are, there's always a lot of money necessary to have a fast race car. They're the first 5 with 12 laps completed. Arie Leyendijk, the leader. Heimrath Jr. is second, followed by Robinson, Moody, and Roger Penske Jr. Just a moment ago, John Richards in car number 51 ran into a problem.
Well, there you see John. We've been watching him. You see he cuts the apex a little tight there, coming out of what I believe to be turn number 8 going into the back 40. And he got off into the grass. The car broke loose, and there he comes around. Tough day for a rookie sometimes when you're behind the wheel of a speeding race car and you're trying to impress all the veterans and all the veteran car owners.
He was able to get the car restarted, however, and no problem in that area of the racetrack. As we go back and pick up the leader, Arie Leyendijk from Holland. And Arie has aspirations, of course, of driving the Indy cars. He was entered in a car at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway this year, however, did not take a driver's test. You can see the average speed of this race has fallen off just a little bit. It's down about a mile an hour from what it was 5 or 6 laps ago, now down to 117.897. The interval between first and second as they head for turn number 2.
Bob, you know, Gary just had a conversation as we look at Kevin Whitesides in car number 47, yet another one of the rookies making his first venture in the 1984 season into Super V racing. Gary had a comment from the number 72 car of Dave Estep. Interesting thing about the 72 car, it still holds the track record at the Michigan International Speedway, and Dave told me before the race began today that a lot of the veteran drivers, the veteran Super V drivers, as we once again look at Arie Leyendijk, had come up to David wanting to drive his car or at least borrow his chassis. That's that Riley Protofab that set the track record about 3 years ago. Wanted to borrow his chassis, so that'll be something to keep your eyes on when we go to Michigan later on this year.
There is only one American-made chassis in this race. All of the other chassis are made in England, but Tommy Grunt in car number 63 is running a Venture chassis, and that is made, as a matter of fact, here in Ohio. Leyendijk moves to the inside of a slower car. Into the backstretch now, car number 89. Ted Krappus, who is another one of those drivers who has done very well in this series and is high in the point standings. Ted Krappus from Los Angeles, California, in a car painted identical to the one that Kevin Cogan drives on the IndyCar circuit.
Well, that's 6th and 7th. Ted Krappus in number 89 and 33, Dominic Dobson. I told you earlier, I thought I saw debris come out of that car, and there's Kevin Whitesides. He tried to get back out onto the racetrack after spending some time in the pits. That's just at the exit to the pits. You can see another car streaming out of the pit area, and Whitesides did not get very far at all before the power went away for yet another time in the number 47 Van Diemen chassis. There again, Ted Krappus, the Los Angeles driver, followed by Dominic Dobson. By the way, the Dominic Dobson car, we noted earlier that it's painted very similar to the Formula 2 car of Pasquale Fabre, one of the cars that runs the road courses in Europe in the Formula 2 series and does quite well.
That's a car owned by Mike Kerr, who is active in politics and very much a race fan in the Los Angeles, California area. The sponsor on the car, Dubonnet.
Well, there's another very interesting name involved with the ownership, Bob, of the number 89 of Ted Krappus. The name is Jimmy Stewart. And if you like old movies, if you're interested in rock music, you might note also that Ted Krappus favors John Cougar Mellencamp just a little bit. So all sorts of tie-ins there. The John Cougar Mellencamp tie-in, the Jimmy Stewart connection, if you will. A member of Ted Prappus's family is the business manager for Jimmy Stewart, and Jimmy has been somewhat of a silent partner involved in this race team.
Ted Prappus is 5th in the point standings. His best finish this year was a 3rd on the oval at Phoenix, Arizona. He finished 5th at Long Beach and has 7th at Milwaukee. There is the leader, Ari Lyondike. 2nd position continues to be Ludwig Heimrath Jr. and Chip Robinson is still 3rd. We'll be back with more from Burke Lakefront Airport. It's the 5th, the Provimi Veal 200, and the car sponsored by Provimi Veal is leading this race, driven by Ari Lyondike, who may make his IndyCar debut at that track. Ludwig Heimrath Jr. is 2nd, Chip Robinson 3rd, Peter Moody is still 4th, and Roger Penske Jr. is in 5th position. One of the back markers moves to the outside of the racetrack as Ari Lyondike laps another car here on the front stretch, now into turn number 11, through turn number 12, crossing the start-finish line once again to complete lap number 17.
And if Ari were to win this one, that would make it a tie score for victories this year. There is the number 64 of Ben Gustafson. Remember that Ben came in and changed a wing earlier. Normally Ben runs up near the front, so they're having some problems with making that car work on this rough course. It's rough compared to a lot of the courses these cars normally run on. I was about to say that if Ari were to win today, he would have 2 wins that would tie him with Chip Robinson and Ludwig Heimrath, and all 3 of them would have a pair of wins.
Lyondike maintaining the advantage over Ludwig Heimrath Jr. And the interval between these cars just a little bit more than it has been the last few laps as Lyondike appears well on his way to a victory. And here's a spun car driven by John Schieser from Vernon Hills, Illinois. He has spun in turn number 6. And Ted Prappus has also hit the wall, and you can see the debris laying in the track, and a car hits a tire. That is at the pit exit just off of turn number 2, and you can see the debris laying to the high side of the racetrack, and the cars running over it or trying to avoid it. Ted Prappus, meanwhile, to the left of your screen, is getting out of the race car, but a problem there in turn number 2.
Well, Bob, that tire that was run over, I believe, by Tommy Grunna, and that debris may have gone into the grandstand. I saw it shoot way up into the air. Prappus was battling with Dominic Dobson. They had just touched with John Schieser. Bob, you had called it, and there's Prappus getting out of control, coming out of turn number 2, and he hit very hard with the left front. It did appear as though something broke on that car, but well, I tell you, that is as serious looking as any IndyCar crash you'd ever run across. Now, on a road course, of course, the drivers coming up behind, they don't really have the warning that you normally get on an oval. You can see most of the racetrack on an oval, but just no way to predict a situation like that when you come around a corner that a crash has been behind.
And just a couple of laps before this, Schieser in car number 89 and Ted Prappus get together, and Schieser spins right at the start-finish line.
Well, as we mentioned, that is that spin that I referred to when I was talking about what had happened to Prappus coming down the front stretch. And it is very possible that when Prappus made contact with Schieser at that point, it may have broken the suspension or maybe even put a tire down. Prappus was battling with Dominic Dobson. They were going through heavy traffic. You see Prappus on the inside, and he makes contact. Schieser apparently didn't see him, Bob.
Well, I think his front suspension broke, or something broke on the race car at that point, because when he came out of turn number 1, headed for turn number 2, the car just simply did not turn, and he hit the wall at a very sharp angle. Fortunately, though, he's out of the race car and doesn't appear to be seriously injured. So Ari Lyondike continues to lead with just 6 laps to go here at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland as we cover for you this Robert Bosch VW Super V race. We'll be right back. On the hook, Ted hit the wall coming out of turn number 1 in turn number 2 very hard, and there was considerable damage to the front end of that race car, but Prappus got out and is okay. Here's a replay of what happened, and look at the angle in which he hit the wall.
Well, he really did go in very hard, and it's pretty unlikely that Prappus would have missed the apex of the turn. There was so much debris on the racetrack. That was my biggest concern, Bob. You can see the left front wheel is tumbling down the straightaway, coming out of that corner, that sharp right-hander, and a lot of other suspension parts, body parts, and several drivers drove over it. We believe that it was the number 63 of Tommy Grunna. There you can see the remains of the impact when all the debris still brushed up against the wall. I believe it was Tommy Grunna who drove over a lot of the debris, which sent parts flying in all directions in the sky, and Grunna is missing. So apparently it was he who encountered that debris first.
All right, so we still have Arie Luyendyk in the lead, and he has led since taking over the lead from Ludwig Heimrath Jr. Heimrath Jr. continues to run in second position, and in third place is still the number 7 car driven by Peter Moody. In fourth place is Roger Penske Jr. as Chip Robinson has now moved up to second position. There's Luyendyk down the front stretch, headed for turn number 11, down into turn number 12, and on to the kink.
If Penske runs fourth, Dominic Dobson resides in the 5th position. He's put in a pretty smooth race. Jeff McPherson is 6th. Craig Dummett, having a nice day, is in 7th position, and John Fergus, one of the rookies who qualified 9th, is in 8th position, having a great day.
Looks like Arie Luyendyk is well on his way to victory here, as that car is working very well for him. Here are the leaders once again: Luyendyk, Robinson, Moody, Penske, and Dodd. More after these messages. Speed Week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday evenings here on ESPN.
Well, Ludwig Heimrath Jr., who led this race in the early stages, one of the top running trio of drivers we've been talking about most of this race, is missing. He is off course somewhere. We have not seen him return to the pit area as of yet, but he was running in a challenging second position, and suddenly, somewhere out in this almost 2.5-mile course, Ludwig has disappeared. There are a couple of cars setting off on the west end and a couple of cars sitting off on the east end. The racetrack is very long here. It's 2.5 miles, but it is about a mile from one end of the track to the other. And I'll tell you, you need more than a couple of pairs of binoculars or some Superman-type eyes to be able to see all around this expanse place. But it's a beautiful setting, Bob, as you mentioned at the top of the show.
Luyendyk is now at the extreme east end of the racetrack. He negotiates turn number 10, comes on to the front stretch, in which speeds will reach right up to around 120 or 125 miles an hour before they have to get hard on the brakes and move into turn number 11. That's what Luyendyk is doing right now. There is the car of Ludwig Heimrath Jr., and he, as you indicated, Larry, was running up front in second position for most of the race, but now is stalled on the course. The white flag is out, indicating one more lap to go for Luyendyk. He moves down into the hairpin turn, onto the kink, a very wide portion of the racetrack. And he has a little more than half a lap to go before a victory here at Cleveland.
Well, he's staying right on the button, too, Bob. He's not taking any chances. He's still at racing speed. The driver said they would not have to be careful and smooth with the cars here. The course is rough, and they all agreed that the ground effects would not have that much of an effect, and you would have to manhandle the race car, and Luyendyk is wrestling it right up to the very end, despite the fact that he has a comfortable lead over Chip Edward Robinson. Arie Luyendyk looking for victory number 2. He'll have a split now, one on the road course and one on the oval, Bob.
Luyendyk on his last lap out of turn number 10 onto the front stretch for the final time. It's a very comfortable lead for Arie, and it looks like victory is his. Now, setting up to negotiate turn number 11. A right-hand turn, there it is. Now turn number 12 onto the front stretch, and it is a victory for Arie Luyendyk as he raises his hand in victory. And Luyendyk has won this 100-kilometer Super V race here at Cleveland. Finishing second is going to be Chip Robinson, and third will be Peter Moody, fourth Roger Penske Jr., and fifth place is going to be Dominic Dobson.
Well, every one of this top trio has had his days in the sun. There was a quick glimpse of Chip Robinson. Each one of them has been extremely dominant in each of the races so far on the trail. This was the 6th race in the trail, and Luyendyk has probably led just a few more laps than the others. He did very well at Phoenix, and the car dropped out with a broken flywheel there. He led a lot of laps at Long Beach in the opening race of the series. There you see Arie responding to the course workers all around the course. Luyendyk was involved in a spin at Long Beach, and he had to settle for second place there. He won the race at Milwaukee. To the race was very exciting, Bob, the first 4 or 5 laps, but as happens so often, the race cars change just a little bit, and they can't be as fast as they were in the first laps all race long.
The official results show that Lyondike wins, Robinson second, Moody third, Pinsky Jr. fourth, Dominic Dobson fifth. Back to talk with the winner in a moment. Ari Lyondike has won this 100-kilometer race here at Cleveland's Burke Lakefront Airport at an average speed of 116.675 miles an hour, besting Chip Robinson and Peter Moody. Let's go down to Gary Lee, who's with the winner.
Congratulations. By mid-race, you had everything well under control, but what happened at the start? You got jumped, didn't you?
Let me think. I had a good start. But then into the first chicane, something happened, and I had to go back the gear down, and that's where that's where Chip and Ludwig passed me. So, and then I caught up to them again, and Ludwig was a real threat, and I really had to drive hard to keep in front of him. But then he spun off, and from there on, it was an easy race.
We had a problem down there in turn 2 when we had a car off the track. Did you get into that debris at all?
Well, that didn't slow me down that much because, I had enough lead on whoever was second.
We talked earlier in the week about that ride last week, the Meadowlands. You said you simply made an adjustment in the chassis and you went the wrong direction, and in fact you did go that way last week. Obviously the chassis was right today.
Well, we had it hooked up very well on yesterday at the practice qualifying, and today it also ran really well. I made one adjustment to the roll bar, and I made a wrong one. I made it full soft and I almost spun because of that. So I could put it back to full stiff again, and from there on it went really well. And well, as I said before, I'm very happy to have good equipment, and that's what Profimi Fuel is supplying me with. And I'm glad I can win races with that equipment.
And speaking of some fine equipment, they also have some fine championship car equipment. When might we see you in the champ car?
Maybe this month I'll do some testing, and we'll go on from there. Profimi has reorganized the team, and they're still working on that. They're trying to catch up the delay because of that. And Derek Daly is doing a good job. Today he's on the 6th starting position. And when everything gets organized, I'm sure I'll get some time in the car this month.
We'll look for that. Congratulations today.
Thank you.
Ari Lyondike, the winner of the Robert Bosch VW Super V race here at Cleveland's Burke Lakefront Airport. Now, Lyondike will pick up 20 points, and Chip Robinson, who was the leader in points going into this race in 22nd, picks up 16, so the point standings are very close at this point. Well, there's a look over Lake Erie as we will take this break and be back with more from Cleveland, Ohio. The point standings are very tight as we conclude this race. Chip Robinson has a 1-point lead on Ari Lyondike, 85 and 84. Moody is third with 51 points, and then Ludwig Heimrath Jr. fourth in the point standings with 49. Chip Robinson finishes second here today but maintains a very small lead in the point standings. Here is Gary Lee with Chip.
Chip, you had that moment in the sun for a while, but it didn't last too long.
No, it didn't. Super V racing is awfully competitive, and you got to be on form every time. I think we were, it appeared anyway, with Ludwig, he'd pull away from me a little bit on the straights. It looked like maybe he had a touch more power. I think he put in a fresh engine last night. We didn't. It made a difference there.
I think that's the point that we have to underscore, how competitive but also how expensive this racing is. You mentioned a fresh engine. They're not cheap.
Well, no, they're not. We're sort of getting to the point now where we think we got to have a fresh engine in for every race, which was not the case. At least we weren't planning on that at the beginning of the year. But it looks like we may have to do that now.
Just one battle lost today, but the war continues. Best of luck.
Thank you.
There is Chip Robinson finishing second here today. The average speed of the race, 116.675. That is a 21 mile an hour increase in speed from last year, Larry.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive. The top 17 or 18 cars broke the old track record, some number in the high teens. And the average speed of the race today was 3 mile an hour faster, almost 4 miles per hour faster than last year's pole. The the new Rolts, the RT5, really spectacular pieces of equipment, and they have really advanced the current state of the art of Super V racing.
All right, let's check the top 10 finishers here in this race today. Lyondike is the winner. Chip Robinson second, Peter Moody third, Roger Penske Jr. finishes fourth, and Dominic Dobson is fifth. Finishing in sixth spot in our race today was the number 11 car, driven by Jeff McPherson. Seventh was Craig Dummett. Eighth, John Fergus. Ninth was Mark Dismore. And 10th was Bobby Fix. Our thanks to Gary Lee for his work in the pit area. For now, this is Bob Jenkins for Larry Nuber saying so long and thanks for joining us from Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, Ohio.